We all know that the two most loved characters from the Spider-Verse movies are Miles and Gwen. Sure, some people might like other characters too, but overall, these two are the fan favorites because of their strong bond and chemistry.
He broke this?
Yeah, he's actually really embarrassed about it, so just keep it between us, okay?
I know where we can make a new one, and we won't let him break it this time.
Their story feels natural, and it develops slowly without rushing anything. So in this video, let's take a look at how people have been rooting for them in both movies so far. Let's start by looking at their struggles. First off, Miles in the first movie is dealing with the pressure from his parents. He wants to do something with his life, but it's not what his parents want for him. His dad, especially, has this idea of what the best future looks like, one that doesn't follow the same path as his uncle. This makes Miles feel like he's being forced to live a life he doesn't want, and that pressure is hard for him to deal with. Gwen's situation is a bit different and much more complicated. We know she became a spider person before Miles did. In her universe, she had to balance this secret double life. And things got even worse when her best friend died. She unintentionally played a part in his death, and that changed everything. Her father, who's a cop just like Miles' dad, starts blaming her for it and even hunts her down, not knowing she's Spider-Woman. He thinks she's a murderer, and all he wants is justice for his daughter's best friend. Imagine being Gwen, the daughter of the cop who's hunting Spider-Woman, which just happens to be her. Dealing with all of that is incredibly tough. At this point, we know both of them are going through their own challenges. But everything changed for both Miles and Gwen when their paths crossed in a way neither of them expected. Because of Kingpin messing with the Collider, a lot of spider people ended up in Miles' universe, including Gwen. That's how their paths crossed. A lot of people, including me, love how their relationship develops because it's so unexpected for both of them. Gwen's spider sense was already telling her that Miles was important to her, even before they met. It could sense it, even before Miles got bitten by the radioactive spider. The first time they met was a little awkward, but as they got to know each other, they started to understand each other better. Gwen had promised herself she would never get too close to anyone or make any new friends because she was afraid of something bad happening, like what happened with Peter in her universe.
I don't do friends anymore, just to avoid any distractions.
But Miles became the first person she connected with after that, and she really appreciates that. He was the first person to make her break that promise of staying distant, and that's when a lot of people started noticing the spark between them. As the movie goes on, their bond grows even more because Miles was dealing with a lot of struggles related to his spider powers. Despite all that, Gwen believed in him a lot, and deep down, she knew he'd come through with his abilities. There's a scene near the end of the movie where Gwen gets knocked out by Olivia Octavius and Miles jumps to catch her. This moment feels very similar to the one in The Amazing Spider-Man when Peter tried to catch Gwen but failed. In this scene, Miles actually catches her, and that moment, when they both hold hands, really symbolizes their connection and how strong their bond has become. Whether it's a reference or just a similar situation, it's a powerful moment that shows how much they've grown together. What really made them feel like they might never see each other again was when they had to go back to their own universes. At that moment, both of them probably thought they would never be able to see each other again. But you can clearly see on their faces how much they care about each other. It's hard to believe that some people think they aren't in love with each other and that the movies aren't a love story. Sure, the first movie didn't focus much on their relationship. It was more about their friendship, getting to know each other, and that spark between them. But Across the Spider-Verse took their bond to a whole new level. At this point, the whole franchise is definitely a love story between them, and the second movie showed huge development in their relationship. If you think it's not a love story, you're just in denial. Across the Spider-Verse had its highs and lows in their relationship, and that's what makes it so exciting and easy to root for them. It's not easy at all. They're from different universes, but neither of them feels understood by anyone in their own universe. They get each other, and they have this constant longing to see each other. What's really beautiful is that no matter how much time passes, their bond never fades. It only grows stronger. When they met again after more than a year, it was amazing. They didn't know what to say or how to start because they had developed feelings for each other in all that time. The reunion was awkward, but at the same time, it was so natural and beautiful because of how well they understand and trust each other. Their conversations and moments together are some of the best parts of the movie. My favorite moment is definitely the one in the clock tower. It's just the two of them, and it's so amazing. I don't think I'm the only one who loves that moment. I'm sure many others do too. We could say that whether it was on purpose or not, their first swing through the city together was like a date for them, Spider-Man and Spider-Woman style. There are so many little details in that moment, like how the colors from Gwen's universe mix with the colors of Miles' universe, creating this beautiful visual when they're together. Some even believe that the two universes might merge at some point, which would be amazing if it happens, depending on how it's done. But when they're together, the colors from both universes definitely blend, and I think the creators did that on purpose. There's a line I mentioned before, and it's going to be really important in the next movie. It's when Miles says, "There's a first time for everything," after Gwen tells him that in every other universe, Gwen Stacy falls for Spider-Man, and it never ends well. This line is going to play a big part in the next movie because the creators didn't just throw it in there for no reason. It adds some serious tension to their relationship. Gwen's fate in every universe seems to be that she dies when she falls for Spider-Man, and that makes her afraid of getting too close to Miles. She thinks that every Gwen and Spider-Man relationship is doomed in every universe, but Miles' line, "There's a first time for everything," is simple but really deep and meaningful. We all probably hoped in that moment that Miles would hold her hand, but at the same time, it wasn't quite the right moment for that to happen. One thing I really love is their expressions. The movie did an amazing job with the way they look at each other. It's just so full of passion and, I don't know, really beautiful. You can totally see that they're in love just by the way they look at each other. As I mentioned before, there are ups and downs in their relationship in this movie. They have some great moments together, but there's also a lot of heartbreak for both of them.
Hold on. Right, Gwen. You should have never come to see me.
This adds tension, suspense, and emotion to their story, which a lot of people really love. Gwen had to lie to Miles and do some things that hurt him and broke his trust, something she never wanted to happen. She was part of a group of spider people in the Spider Society, following orders and not really being herself. Gwen thought that Miles had everything in his universe, with his parents and his life there, and Miles thought Gwen had everything in the Spider Society, surrounded by people who understood her because they were all spider people. But what they both really needed was each other. Gwen hurt Miles a lot in this movie, and he lost trust in her, which is totally understandable considering everything that happened. But what's really interesting is that she left the Spider Society and is now willing to do whatever it takes to earn back his trust. After her father, Miles is the most important person in her life, and we're all left wondering how their next encounter will go. I'm sure it's going to be full of tension and conflict, but we're all curious about how Gwen will redeem herself. They definitely need a moment alone to work things out, and I'm sure we'll get that moment, just the two of them, because it makes perfect sense. When they finally do get together, which there's a very high chance of happening, like 99.9%, it's gonna be super satisfying and a really great ending to what, in my opinion, is the most well-developed and grounded love stories in any Spider-Man or superhero story.
Wow, there's so many. Missed you too.